Close your eyes and listen carefully. Don't you think? This sound is exactly like a turkey being strangled to death, or a leaky screaming rubber chicken toy. If you were to travel back 130 million years to a North American forest, and from behind the bush, you heard this seemingly comical sound, and couldn't help but laugh out loud, well, congratulations. The countdown to the end of your life has just dropped to under 3 seconds. Don't rush to the comments to argue whether I just made this sound up. This sound was reconstructed by paleontologists based on the pneumatic structures of its skull and combining the vocal mechanisms of modern raptors and crocodiles. They used biomechanical models to recreate it. Science has a way of subverting our expectations. So whatever you do, do not let this clownish, comical squawk deceive you, because the creature making that bizarre noise behind the trees is no laughable prehistoric poultry. It is listed in our high-risk species archives as the ultimate cold-blooded assassin. In the entire evolutionary history of Earth's terrestrial life, you have all been deceived by Hollywood sci-fi movies for 3 entire decades. In Jurassic Park, those pack-hunting velociraptors that drove humans into a corner, well, the real velociraptor was actually only the size of a turkey. You could punt it away with a single kick. To create visual tension, the director simply fabricated a half-ton monster. But reality is stranger than fiction. In the very same year the movie was released, paleontologists actually dug up a prehistoric demon that perfectly matched that fictional size. Yet, because of its fictional counterpart on screen, it had its spotlight stolen for a full 30 years. This true ceiling of prehistoric combat power is the Utahraptor. When its complete skeleton was finally pieced together, even top-tier dinosaur experts gasped in shock. The long-held image in their minds of dromaeosaurs being small, dog-sized dinosaurs was utterly shattered. The real Utahraptor was a feathered, heavy-duty armored personnel carrier. An adult stood over 2 meters tall. Imagine a massive double-door refrigerator shoved right into your face. Its maximum weight could exceed 500 kilograms, putting it on par with a fully grown Siberian brown bear. What's even more bizarre is that this half-ton killing machine was covered entirely in thick feathers, much like a bird. At first glance, it looked like a severely deformed, giant free-range chicken. And precisely because of this deceptive appearance and its terrifying combat prowess, it is known as the feathered grizzly of the Cretaceous. But whatever you do, don't laugh. Shift your gaze downward and look at the soles of its feet. On its second toe, extending ominously, was a 24-centimeter long, bone-chilling sickle claw complete with a blood groove. This blade was longer than your entire forearm. It was not only razor-sharp, but also exceptionally robust, a natural spring-loaded butcher knife, capable of instantly piercing through heavy armor. Normally, this sickle claw was held aloft, completely avoiding contact with the ground. Only in the final second, when it decided to execute you, would it deploy instantly like a switchblade, locking directly onto your vital organs. Don't think it would just run over and slash you once. Based on its skeletal structure, paleontologists theorize that its killing mechanism was the most psychologically devastating form of torture in the entire Cretaceous period. A T-Rex would use its hydraulic press-like bite force to give you a swift, clean death. But the Utahraptor's primary tactic is known in biomechanics as raptor prey restraint, which, to put it bluntly, is an unimaginably cruel vivisection. When it locked onto you, this half-ton feathered grizzly would use its terrifying explosive power to tackle you straight to the ground like a cannonball. Its massive forelimbs would pin you down firmly, using absolute weight advantage. It would crush you so hard that you could clearly hear the sound of your own ribs snapping. Then, the most despair-inducing execution began. Those 2 24-centimeter butcher knives on its feet weren't meant for slashing. They acted like meat hooks, plunging deeply into your soft abdomen or windpipe, hooking agonizingly onto your internal organs to ensure you couldn't move an inch. Only then would its mouth, lined with razor-sharp teeth, slowly and methodically come down, tearing away your flesh piece by piece. You would be in a state of absolute hyper-awareness, helplessly watching your own body being hollowed out little by little. And the most spine-chilling part of all, as it consumed you alive, its throat would still emit that incredibly comical, bizarre squawk from the beginning of this video. Amidst the ultimate agony, the death knell you heard would be a mocking, comedic soundtrack. This wasn't nature's attempt at humor. This was the evolutionary law at its absolute most cold-blooded. You might think an invincible assassin like this could rule the earth forever, but nature excels at destroying perfection. In Utah, USA, experts unearthed a massive 9-ton block of sandstone. Sealed within it was an incredibly tragic prehistoric murder scene. Buried in the stone was a massive iguanodontian dinosaur, and densely intertwined around it were the skeletons of at least 6 Utahraptors. There were adults, and even recently hatched juveniles. Scientists reconstructed that desperate disaster. During a severe drought 130 million years ago, that iguanodontian became trapped in quicksand on the verge of death. The scent of its blood attracted a pack of these apex cold-blooded assassins. The adult raptors pounced first, thinking they had found a free buffet. But those invincible sickle claws, capable of tearing through any defense, were inextricably sucked in by the soft, unforgiving mud. The more they struggled, the deeper they sank. Then, eager to steal a share of the food, other raptors leaped in one after another. Eventually, even the smallest juveniles blindly followed, marching straight into this swamp of death. In the end, they were all buried alive by the mud. Those ultimate butcher knives, designed for disembowelment, seemed so laughably powerless against the quicksand. This 9-ton fossil serves as a cold, stark metaphor. Even if you achieved the most perfect physical fusion of sheer mass and cold weaponry in the grand sandbox of nature, you are still nothing but an ant that can be crushed at any moment. With dramatic climate shifts and the replacement of vegetation, the Utahraptor eventually marched toward extinction. Earth never cares how developed your muscles are. It doesn't care how sharp your weapons are. And it certainly doesn't care if your call is majestic or comical. In the face of a dimensional strike from the environment, all who deem themselves invincible will ultimately become nothing more than mud in the geological strata, a meaningless smear of ashes. Today, as we sit safely behind our screens and mock this comical sound from over 100 million years ago, we might want to take a look at ourselves. Humanity believes that with steel and microchips, we have armed ourselves to the teeth. But if, on some future day, nature once again flips the table on our climate, will the sound we leave for the next 100 million years be nothing more than a ridiculous, laughable burst of static?